the best place to work.
I love working here.
I feel very blessed.
I love it here.
I look forward to coming to work every day, being a part of this team.
Like a family away from home.
Where everyone feels like everybody knows their name.
The city that supports you, we see that with our benefits.
A pension, vacation days, job security.
Being able to be heard.
We feel valued, we feel respected.
Lee Summit is a very progressive city.
It's growing, it's thriving.
We have this drive towards not just doing a job, but doing it with a spirit of excellence.
I had the opportunity to continue to grow, regardless of 30 plus years doing this kind of work.
It's more than just dollars and cents.
We're here really to give back.
Providing a service to better a community.
To go out and serve people.
To be a part of something bigger than yourself. If I would have known what I know now, years ago, I would have been here much sooner.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Jordan. Here's your flash briefing for the week of September 8th. City Council will meet for a regular session Tuesday night at 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. Meetings are open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Lee Summit Fire Department at a fun-filled open house on September 20th from 9 a.m. to noon at Fire Station Number 6, located at 101 Northeast Blackwell Road. Bring the whole family to tour the fire station and walk through an inflatable house to learn about fire safety. Don't miss this opportunity to honor their legacy and join the celebration. The city is seeking public input on walkable and bikeable connections from the Rock Island Trail to downtown Lee Summit, as well as wayfinding signage that would be beneficial for trail users. There will be a public meeting held on September 20th from 8 a.m. to noon at the Hardman Park Trailhead and the Green Street Market. The meetings will be held in an open house style format. September is Emergency Preparedness Month. Have you discussed how to reach family and where to meet up in case of an emergency? Disasters can occur at any time, making it essential to have a plan, build an emergency kit, and stay informed. Stay safe with LS Aware, the city's free alert system designed to keep residents and businesses informed of emergencies, such as weather events. Learn more at lsaware.net. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.
Traditionally, we think as police officers, those responding to law enforcement needs within the community. But honestly, we are there to serve our citizens, and our citizens do go into crisis. They do have mental health crises, and we're being called to those scenes on a regular basis. In order to help serve those citizens better, we did initiate the Crisis Intervention Team Program. These are officers that are specially trained to de-escalate crisis situations. Recently, we've brought co-responders onto the scene, licensed qualified mental health professionals housed within our police department, and they respond with those officers directly to those scenes where a crisis is occurring so they can interact with that citizen and get them the help they need right there on that scene.
The co-responders are either a bachelor or master level in a behavioral health related field. They wear plain clothes, they don't carry weapons or anything like that.
I have a police radio that I listen to all day. Listen for, those key words: mental health, behavioral health, crisis.
There's a lot of officers that just call for me. I have my own radio number.
I also have the ability to self-dispatch to them and say 982 is en route.
Officers en route, 914, Armstrong.
So typically I arrive after they've made it safe. I'll make contact and get kind of the rundown, and then I just kind of jump right in.
Like, hey, my name's Allison. I'm a mental health professional. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take you to jail or arrest you.
Sometimes all a person needs is a voice, someone neutral, someone outside that, can listen. I do a lot of safety planning, including family, their support network, who's close to you. If they're home alone, who can come over and hang out with you today? Can we lock away your sharps? Can we put up your meds? Do you need meds? Can we get you over to the urgent care to get you assessed for your medications? Some of them also are like, oh, I'm so glad you came. This made me feel so much better.
Our main goal as co-responders is to, one, get people connected to the services that they need, and also divert from emergency rooms and jails.
And they almost get a different view of the police responding. That lets me know you care and the officers care.
Please, how can we help you?
My husband has...
In 2020, we had 722 mental health related calls for service. 2022, by that time, 1,479. These mental health related calls for service are increasing. How we're responding to that is increasing the number of crisis intervention team officers we have available, as well as the number of co-responders we have available to respond on these calls.
So what I think is important for the community to know about the co-responder program is that we're here, we exist. All you have to do when you call 911 is ask for us. You know, say, hey, I want a co-responder to respond to this crisis, and we'll go. I was really struggling about 8 years ago on my personal journey with mental health, and I met some amazing social workers and amazing programs that have helped me get to where I am today. I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. We want to help, and that's what we love to do.
So I had a client, we got a call, she had some suicidal ideations, and she really felt that she had nobody. And and getting to know her story and getting to know who comes around and sees you, well, then we found a support person and they responded immediately. And we made a plan. I called back and checked on her in an hour, and then I checked on her in 2 hours. We were able to get her into the additional services to where she talks to someone every week or more. I just took a person that really just thought they had nobody and nobody would show up for them, and show them you do. And you'll be amazed who is in your corner if you just simply say, I need a little help.
The City of Lee's Summit has hundreds of traffic lights across its more than 1,000 lane miles, all managed by the city's public works traffic technicians. The work happens inside those metal boxes on the side of each intersection. Inside, technicians program a device called the controller. The controller communicates directly with each signal head via underground wires, telling each light when to turn on and off based on a programmed cycle. City traffic engineers design this cycle to allow traffic to flow as efficiently as possible for that particular intersection. In order to best match current traffic patterns, they install something called a detection system. Detection systems have taken many forms over the years, from sensors in the pavement to radar boxes. But in Lee's Summit, they primarily consist of cameras, which workers mount above the traffic signals. These cameras don't record video or your speed. Instead, they monitor the spaces at the front of the intersection and identify when a vehicle is present in a specific spot. Once a vehicle is identified, the detection system sends a message to the controller, which then adapts its standard cycle to best serve the cars that are present. The pedestrian button works in a similar way. When the button is pressed, the controller receives a signal, requesting that it allow that section of the pedestrian walkway to go, which it then inserts into the signal pattern. Technicians also install something called a conflict monitor. The conflict monitor is a device in which they program all the potential patterns of lights that would lead to a collision. If the other systems mistakenly trigger those patterns, the conflict monitor sends the intersection into flash, causing all lights to flash red and directing drivers to treat it like an all-way stop. City traffic technicians implement and maintain these systems so effectively, we rarely consider them. But every time we safely pass through a signal-controlled intersection, it's all thanks to their work. So the next time you're waiting at a red light, remember the delicate coordination of super smart systems that move you through that space safely and efficiently every day.
My parents built their first brand new home in 1987 here in Lee Summit. Pretty amazing to see what Lee Summit looked like in 1987 as a teenager. So vibrant, it was just growing, and there were a multitude of new things coming online. I was in the property management world, going to Rockhurst College, and eventually I raised my kids here. This community holds people. Every time you turn a corner, there's something new. 2013, there was a vacancy on the Planning Commission, and I thought, well, I'm going to give this a shot. When you're on the Planning Commission, the decisions that you're making are recommendations. Are they following our UDO? Does it fit in our comp and strat plan? When it gets to the council, that's the big decision. I served on the Planning Commission up until February of 2025.
All right, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Donald Funk.
Do solemnly swear.
The first few weeks here was an eye-opener. These are big projects. We're making decisions for a lot of people. Is this the right project for our community? Does it fit? Does it serve the needs of our community? We can look back and see what's been done. I mean, it's incredible when you see Paragon Star coming out of the ground, Oldham Village starting to come online, View High Drive Athletic Facility, Discovery Park, streets of West Pryor, 291 North and 50 Highway, our farmers market, the Green Street Project. You look at our downtown. My wife and I, we had the opportunity to visit a small town in Florida that was revamping their entire downtown. I met a guy and he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Lee Summit, Missouri." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, they're modeling our downtown off of what you guys have done." We're recognized nationally. I think the easiest way to put it is we're moving in the right direction. A safe, vibrant, happy community. And my hope and my reason for doing this is because I want to keep that hope and dream moving forward.
I'd like to call to order the Community and Economic Development Committee meeting for Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Can we get a roll call, please?
Chair Hodges.
Here.
Vice Chair Carlisle.
Here.
Councilmember Pryor.
Here.
Councilmember Funk. Planning Commissioner Trafton.
Thank you. And then may I get an approval of the agenda?
Chair, I move to approve the agenda. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Chair Hodges.
Aye. Okay, public comments, I don't believe we have any. So moving on to business, 5A, 2025-7135. Can I get an approval of the committee action letter?
Chair.
Councilmember, I am sorry, I got 2 hours of sleep last night. Carlisle, thank you.
I would move to approve 2025-7135, the August 13th, 2025 Community and Economic Development Committee action letter. Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Chair Hodges.
Aye.
Vice Chair Carlisle.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to 5B, TMP-3359, an ordinance amending Chapter 4, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 1 in general, Section 4-1, definitions of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lee Summit, Missouri. Major Nicole Walters.
Yes, Major Nicole Walters. Can I first say the women outnumber the men here today? It's exciting.
Not even a budget meeting.
What you have in front of you today is the amendment to amend the definitions for amusement places, allowing movie theaters as a place where alcoholic beverages can be served. So, any questions?
Any questions? No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
All right,
Thank you. All right. Can I get a motion?
Chair.
Councilmember Pryor?
I move to forward TMP 3359 onto council for approval. Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Chair Hodges.
Aye.
Vice Chair Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Okay, moving to 5C, TMP-3442, an ordinance amending Chapter 29 of this Lee Summit City Code of Ordinances, Article 1, Section 29-12, pertaining to establishment of play streets and amending Article 6, Division 2, Section 29-452, pertaining to parade applications for a specified time period during the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Tracy Albers.
Good afternoon. Tracy Albers with Development Services. Second item on your agenda this evening is an ordinance that would amend 2 sections of the city code related to the upcoming World Cup tournament. First, quick recap. Staff has spent the last several months combing through city code and the UDO, trying to determine what interim changes should be made and set in motion during the World Cup tournament. When making the recommendations, staff's focus has been to provide a safe and hospitable environment for visitors and tourists, supporting community stakeholders, the business community, residents. Really, to accomplish this, what needs to be examined is how the municipality, during that window of time, allocates our finite resources to best serve the community and the greater KC metro area. So to that end, the ordinance that you consider today serves as a companion piece to the UDO amendments that you considered during the month of August. Items in that ordinance that was moved forward for Planning Commission consideration touched on signage, food trucks, special events, commercial and entertainment, and then there was a separate item on the agenda that talked about the regulation of short-term rentals during that time period. Tonight's focus is items that occur on city streets, block parties and parades. Block parties we call play streets in the city code. These are possible changes that have been discussed with CEDC previously, and we're looking to temporarily codify. They'd have the same window of applicability as the UDO changes from June 1st to July 31st next year. So block parties or play streets, as they're described in the code, are authorized by our police department. When a request is submitted to PD online, they make sure first that there isn't something else going on in the immediate area that this could conflict with. Also, they're confirming that the street to be closed is a neighborhood or residential street, and they're identifying generally where barricades should be placed. Assuming the request is approved, then that information is disseminated to the fire department and Public Works. Fire, just as an FYI, should anything happen. Public Works, because they're the actual bodies that are pulling together the necessary barricades, dropping them off in advance of the event, and picking them up thereafter. In the past, during what would be this World Cup window, there have been about a dozen or so block party events, several of which occur on or around July 4th. The recommendation today is that no block parties be had during that World Cup window. City-sponsored or FIFA events would be exempt. So what we're not saying is that you can't have a neighborhood party. Neighborhoods could still host an event in someone's driveway. They could still have something in the front yard. I'm sure many of you remember going to a driveway party or two during COVID for much needed socialization. If you had an HOA, the neighborhood pool, common areas, even a private parking lot, those could still accommodate a neighborhood party like this. Really what we're hoping to accomplish is limiting use of the street. Moreover, the need to set aside staff resources during that period of time for permit review, consolidating efforts for barricade, pickup and drop off, and the like. Parades are the other item that's covered as part of the proposed ordinance. The police department, again, here can issue permits for parades, but it's actually a multi-department review effort as it relates to street closures, traffic control, and public safety needs during that time. Parades are a super resource-intense event, and it can place really heavy demands on the municipality and, more importantly, impede traffic flows during sometimes critical periods. In years past, only one parade permit has been issued during the World Cup window, and that was for Rain Tree. Looking ahead to next year, staff's proposing that no parade permit approvals be allowed during that window, except for city-sponsored and FIFA events, which would be exempt. But you'll see in the draft ordinance, we've gone ahead and exempted what we're going to call a legacy event or a legacy parade, and this would cover Rain Tree. So basically, looking ahead to 2026, it's not the time to decide to throw a new parade event. Also, simply to reassure, funeral processions would continue to be excluded from this prohibition, and events occurring on property, case in point, this cute little photo of preschool-age kids in the daycare parking lot having a 4th of July parade. So to that end, staff's recommending approval of the proposed ordinance, moving it ahead to full council consideration. Because the UDO item needs to go to Planning Commission first, it's not slated to get back to City Council, I believe, until October 21st. So if recommended for full consideration, we'd actually ask that it go on the same night just so that the items can be continued in tandem. Madam Chair.
Any questions? Yeah, again, very straightforward. I appreciate you guys working on this and getting it down to what we were all happy with. All right, can I get a motion, please?
Chair, I move to approve. I move to TMP 3442 to full council for approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call, please?
Vice Chair Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor?
Aye.
Chair Hodges?
Aye. Okay, moving on to the last item on the business. So 5D, 2025-7147, discussion of housing unified development ordinance zoning and review process opportunities by Ms. Nassif.
I can promise you right now it might be a couple minutes longer than the other two. I'm going to do my best, and I can talk like the Jimmy John's person if you want on those commercials, but a lot of good stuff to share with you. So, but yes, Amy Nassif, Deputy Director of Development, here tonight to talk to you about the housing discussion follow-up from our meeting back in June. If you remember, from June 10th, we came forward with the Big Rock discussions and provided you a bunch of information and opportunities on different ways that we can continue our housing initiatives and goals. And from those discussions and the direction from you all, it seemed that we kind of had everything in two buckets. Where can we make more administrative reviews, and where can we streamline our processes and procedures, all in alignment with our goals with the strategic plan and the comprehensive plan. So that's what staff did. We took a look at all those opportunities. We did a full vetting of our Unified Development Ordinance and have some really great examples for you of things we can do. As we go through these, because there's so many, please feel free to stop me, and we can talk or answer questions as we go along. But these are really all just set up as examples of what we could do for your direction on. Would you like more research on to see how other cities do it? Would you like us to provide some language? Would you like both or none of the above? And then that way we'll be able to know when and how we can come back before you as well. So housing benefits, I'll just touch on this real briefly. All of the ones that we identified tonight, it's all a holistic approach. It's super comprehensive. There's no magic bullet where we do one thing and then everything changes and we get more housing stock and attainable housing in the marketplace. But all of it working together really helps to reduce our application fees, helps address things that we've heard from our home builders and our stakeholders, helps our homeowners, because there's a lot that goes on with homeowners wanting to rehab and get more investment in their properties, especially for older homes. And how can we enhance our own efficiencies and our review times and keep that competitive edge as a place to do business here in the metro. So, first place is modifications. Right now, currently, even minor modifications go to the governing body. Those are things on the preliminary development plan you'll see, like setbacks, materials, parking, landscaping. Last year, you might remember that we made a couple small changes to move the needle a little bit and let Planning Commission take some of the reins on that and do some of those approvals. And this is a chart of where we are today. So currently, existing modifications for development takes 3 to 4 months, even for really small items. And that's a long time, especially for a home builder or someone wanting to renovate or do some work like that. Planning Commission approval takes 4 weeks. We do right now in our UDO have staff approval for these 4 items that you see here. And what we're recommending is on the very right-hand side is maybe let's transition a couple more items that are benign over to staff for administrative review. It would then take 7 to 10 days, which is a huge increase in improvement for homeowners and property owners alike. The one big area too, right now staff does approve a 10% setback for residential up to just 1 foot. And what we're recommending is increasing that allowance to 15%, but 5 feet if you're talking about replacement or repair, remodeling an existing home. And the reason for that is that's the biggest request we get for Board of Zoning Appeals from homeowners. And that's the biggest struggle that they have. And that BZA application is over $500. It takes 2 months in time because it's governed by state statute. And so that could be a win for homeowners who are trying to reinvest and fix up their property and not be disheartened by the process and intimidated by it too. It would not include multifamily, just other single-family home or two-family homes that really to help encourage that reinvestment. Any questions with that kind of area? Okay. The second area is preliminary development plans and when they are required. So we get PDPs all the time. It's like the major item on the agendas for Planning Commission and City Council. They are super fun. However, preliminary development plan currently is required also for items 2 and 3 here. So if you have vacant property, but you already are given zoning entitlements by the City Council and you're in a planned district, if you want to develop that vacant lot, you still then have to go back through the entire 4-month process all over again, which seems like a lot, especially when we already established all the rules and regs during the zoning phase. Also, if you want to redevelop your property, if you're already zoned, you already have entitlements, you have an old rundown home and you want to rebuild it, meeting every single requirement, you have to give us a PDP and go through that full process. So our recommendation is let us look into possibly creating an allowance for up to 3 homes or 3 residential lots. And the reason for 3 is it matches what our minor subdivision requirements are now as well. So that way, it really encourages that reinvestment, helps increase property values of that home, but also the neighborhood as well. And you still have to meet all the requirements, still would have a final development plan, permitting and everything, but you get rid of the 3 to 4 month, the 3-month process as an option just for those small cases. And another area we found too is something we don't have under the PDP submittals right now is we always like to have a safety net or some kind of caveat. So whenever we have our tables and it says, hey, you can do this if you meet these situations, it's really nice to have a a clause of anything else that might apply, because our jobs are awesome because we never know what's going to happen from day to day, right? You could answer the phone. It could be a question about trash pickup to a temporary sign to a rock quarry operation all in like 30 seconds time. So it's wonderful. But so we can't also write code to write in advance for every situation. So if we could have some just kind of language in here that any other situation is determined by the director, that really helps provide clarity for stakeholders and property owners. So. Then the preliminary development plan, what we call revisions or changes to a PDP. So let's say that you went through zoning and you got your PDP approved, and then something has to change. You're just changing a setback. You need to change a landscape buffer, something of that nature. So there's a whole list of substantial changes, and it's great that we let people have the flexibility to do that. But that process is 3 to 4 months and goes through the entire zoning process all over again. We also then have this administrative review process already in our code, and it works really well, but it allows just for minor changes, and the minor ones just, they really don't hit the threshold of what we're hearing from people, what their needs are. And that process is less than half the time. It would be a lot, in addition to saving time for the property owners, great, better efficiencies on our resources and everything that we have in the city as well. And so what our thought was we'd like to bring back to you is, and I don't know why the green box did that, so I'm sorry, but for those red boxes, 2, 4, 5, and 9, for residential, increase the allowance for a minor change to be up to the district regulations. So for instance, right now it says increases in building height of no more than 25% staff does currently. Well, instead, just change that to say increases the height not to exceed the district that the city council just put you in. So if we don't go beyond those zoning district regs, it still gets fully reviewed. You still have to meet all code requirements, but it would go to just maybe a 4-week process instead of 3 to 4 months. And then the one in green is we'd like just to change and tweak that language because it's kind of unclear. It says right now you have to have an entirely brand new public hearing process all over again if you change ownership or stages of construction. But for instance, when we phase construction now, staff is fully vetting that with our planners and our engineers and our infrastructure team as well to make sure everything still aligns. There's often times where there wouldn't be a need to have to go through public hearings all over again as well, when literally the plans on paper would be the same, it's just the order. So it's just small things like that that could be beneficial.
I just have a question on that one, if you don't mind. So I guess, so if it changes ownership during construction, but maybe, I mean, there's been times where we maybe aren't a fan of the developer because of the reputation. So how does that work in that case if it kind of bypasses some of those?
Sure, it's a great question. So what this actually section is it's changes in ownership patterns that will lead to a different development concept. So it's not just changes in ownership.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually zoning laws and Missouri state statute does not require or mandate that those changes would have to go through a zoning process. So that's why we don't have that currently. And what this currently is here is, hey, if they're coming in and the ownership pattern changes, so they're going to be doing their, instead of like 3 commercial in 1 office, it's 2 office and 1 commercial, that would come back. But what you're asking for, it wouldn't be impacted by this section of code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Extensions is something that I don't know if you all are aware of because we do a lot of them administrative right now, but a preliminary development plan, it expires 24 months after approval unless you have to get your FDP in before that time. And that has to go to city council. The interesting thing is every single other one of our applications are approved administratively for extensions. Staff already does an extension one time. If they want more than that, or if they want more than the 1-year period, we send it to city council. But all these other plans and plats, every single one is done. It's just a 7-day turnaround time. And it literally is those times when you're going to meet all our code requirements still, nothing has changed. You literally just need more time before you submit your next stage of application. Then those are the times where we give an extension. And currently, for preliminary development plans, for some reason, that's the only application left that has to go back through to city council, and it ends up taking 4 weeks instead of 7 days. So the thought is have that be the same exact process as all the other plans and plats. The other interesting thing is if you did have a preliminary development plan approved and then you revised it, revisions are approved by staff. So really, it's only like a very rare amount that is going to city council right now. And again, it's only for an extension. Nothing changes, no land uses change. There's no public hearing. It's just they come in before you. It's usually on a consent agenda, and they're just saying, we need 1 more year before we can submit for our building permits.
Okay, so anything after a year, it would have to come back
It
to
would
us
come
still.
back to you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
And same with the other items in place now, too.
Okay.
Confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question, go ahead.
Sorry,
No, you're
so I thought I was tracking, and then she said what she said, and now I'm lost. So what you're saying is that you don't want a PDP to have to come before us after their first year to get another year extension? You want to be able to do that, for staff to do that in-house?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, once the preliminary development plan expires that first time, instead of it having to be put on your agenda for you to give them a 1-year extension, let staff give a 1-year extension, just like we already do for all these other items in the green box. And if they come in again after that, they have to come to city council. Or if
You're
they,
saying they get one
and done.
1-year extension that can be approved by staff. After that, they have to come back through.
Correct.
Okay, would this include all PDPs, including those who that have any kind of tax break or LCRA or like any of those things attached to it?
Sure. What we do right now with all of them, including those revised PDPs, is we do a full review. We check development agreements. We run it through with everybody to make sure, hey, is there any conditions or issues or concerns with giving this 1 year? If there is, we put those on the city council agenda or we just deny it.
Okay.
And that's what happens right now with our plats, our final plans, and our revised PDPs. We make sure that nothing's changed or it's not going to impact anything in a negative way.
Chair, if I may. So we're talking specifically with us about the extension of an expired PDP. Just for everybody's clarity, preliminary development plan is good for 2 years.
Oh, sorry.
Currently, so there's 2 years that they have in order to submit a final development plan, and this would apply if they don't meet that 2-year threshold. And so essentially what it functions as is they would need to have communication with staff, indicate to us as staff as to what the holdup, what the delay was prior to being granted that extension for a year.
It's a 2-year original approval, but the extension's only 12 months.
Yeah, I understand that. And that's all fine and good. It's just when I think about that and something that may have some kind of incentive attached to it, that's where the problem becomes for me.
Absolutely. And that's why we review it and review those documents and check before we'd even, currently right now, when people request that, we're checking that already and we're telling them, hey, there's concern here and here's what it is, or hey, we checked, everything's good, and then we're putting it on your agenda. So that vetting is done. Because I understand you don't want to do something that's going to impact those contracts and those other requirements that they have.
Okay, thank you.
And,
You're welcome.
And I can add just a little bit more to that too. These changes that we're talking about here really are intended to be limited to the residential aspects. So if there is an incentivized residential project like that, there will be other documents that will have other schedule requirements associated with them. So this would not impact any of those because the controlling document would be the contract or the incentive request and things like that. So there'd be other steps outside of the UDO process that would need to be followed.
Okay, great. So maybe if we just make sure that clarification's in there when we take this to council.
Sure, yeah, if you'd like to limit this to residential, that's no problem at all.
Well,
And we
I
can do
mean,
that with
just
all
as
of them as
long
well.
as-
Yeah.
The clarification of, hey, if this is attached to any kind of an incentive, you know, that incentive is going to have a contract with a schedule, and so that schedule would supersede any of this.
Absolutely.
So, okay, thank you.
Great. good discussion. Thank you for that. The fifth one here is the concept plan submittal requirements. So we don't do concept plans a ton here, but we have it in our code, which is wonderful, and it's a great flexibility tool. The problem is, especially with items 4 and 7, requiring a total square footage and requiring elevations with materials and colors. Now, this is for both kinds of developments, residential and not. It causes issues and problems, and people can't often utilize this process that we offer. So a concept plan process, the idea is you come in the door with a conceptual plan only. If you just want to zone, which you're entitled to through state statute and case law without knowing who your tenants are, you just want to market the property, or you know that you'll increase the marketability, you'll increase the attractiveness if it's already got the zoning entitlements in place, and they agree full well, hey, I'll come back through and do your complete PDP process once I know later and have that information. But for right now, I just want the zoning in place. So it's great for that reason, but the problem is it's very difficult on people because they often don't know all the architecture and the materials and the colors because they don't know who those tenants are and that square footage. So it sometimes can become just a guess. Or it sometimes happens then when they come back in through the PDP again, which is full public hearings all over again, the information's changed. So our recommendation is to kind of look at this section and see where we can just really allow these to be a little bit more conceptual in nature if people do want to do this process step. And then, just the last couple ones we did were like Ovation, for instance, and Colburn Road investments. So those were the 5 for administrative review opportunity areas or just process efficiencies. Any other questions or great feedback before I move on to the zoning piece? This is good. You guys are great. All right, so the fun stuff, zoning reform items. So here we're going to talk about some land use entitlements and zoning district regulations. So this is a chart from our UDO which shows all of our districts that allow residential of any type. P means it's permitted, so it means it's permitted, it's a land use entitlement by right once you get the zoning district in place. C means conditional, so it means you could be allowed, but there's extra regulations in our code pertaining to those. And S is for a special use permit. And so right now, as you can see, this is what we have for like ag is our agriculture, our rural density, residential large lot, and then R1 through the R4. So what our recommendation is, just for discussion purposes, is to increase the allowed type of housing entitlements in each zoning district. When talking with home builders and national organizations, APA, ULI, as well as the regular development community, getting that increased flexibility in the housing stock and the housing type of choice in those districts is a really great way and opportunity to mix and diversify your housing stock. And so we wanted to look at, let's bring back these, like how other cities and what all the districts and allowances are in those, because we don't have a ton. We don't allow much residential in each of those districts, so there may be opportunity there to increase those options and that choice. And those are just, and the areas we're showing just like are just the ones in red. The other area that we wanted to vet through more and get your feedback on was introducing a brand new district. So about a year ago, we had a whole conversation on planned districts and conventional districts, and just to recap and not bore anyone, a planned district, which is what most of our districts are, which we switched over back in 2001, basically means you have a plan with it. It's RP1, RP2, RP3, and RP4. Just means when you're coming through with zoning, you have a preliminary development plan that's going to show all the details of what that zoning district would look like if you give them that entitlement. We also have conventional districts right now. And a conventional district is a district where you request your zoning to get your zoning entitlement. You're not required to submit a plan with it or to draw a plan with it at all. The ag district, RDR, RLL, and the R1 are those ones that do that right now. And so R1 is a good example. And so right now R1 allows that single family detached homes. And that's done as a conventional district, which means that when people come in, they go through the public hearing process, has a neighborhood meeting, has to meet all of our requirements, but they don't have to do those extra drawings with that PDP. And that does save a lot of time and money and process reviews for home builders and for applicants as well. And so what it would look like is a conventional R2 district would work the same exact way as an R1 district does. Submit the same exact material, it's the same exact requirements as our code has it now. And as I mentioned, there's a public hearing, planning commission review and recommendation to city council, but the development standards are already set in place. So just like an R1 district right now, if a developer comes in and says, I want to do your R1, it's like, okay, great. There's no negotiation, there's no back and forth, here's our regulations. And they submit it and come in with a plat and have the rezoning application with you all. The R2 would work the same way. And kind of to show you what the difference between a plan and a plat is, the preliminary plan is what you see typically now for all of those P districts or those planned districts. A preliminary plat is what you get currently for the R1 district. And so what we also would be recommending is we wouldn't remove and get rid of the RP2, we just add an extra district as an extra option for developers to pick if they qualify, and if they don't, they do the planned district instead. Same as right now, we have an R1 and an RP1. So when people come in, developers come into us and they're like, hey, you know, we'd rather do the R1 district because it's tens of thousands of dollars to do those preliminary plans. And it also is, the process is a lot quicker. So we'd like to do the R1 district for these single family homes. And we tell them, here's all the district requirements that you have to meet. There's no negotiating those, there's no back and forth, it is what it is. They agree to those terms and they submit and they do the R1. And some examples of those were like Eagle Creek, Rain Tree, Winterset that got approved as R1 districts. If anyone comes in though and they say, hey, we want this, but we don't meet these requirements, then we say, you don't qualify then, you need to do the planned district instead for the RP1 and give us a preliminary plan and that go through with your rezoning. You do have to draw all those items up and we do have to see everything. So there's give and take. Sometimes developers like it and sometimes they don't, but they do like having the option for that if they qualify for it.
I don't know, this is kind of confusing to me.
Sure.
I'm sorry. So I guess, are they still not, they're not going to have to come to us with a PDP once they get everything set? I'm confused about that part.
So let me do this. So currently right now, a developer wants to rezone and they want R1 district. They come before you. You all don't get a preliminary development plan now. What you all get is the plat. And the plat shows the site layout and the size of the lots and like sidewalks. But you aren't getting the full details of a landscape plan, lighting plan, like grading and all that stuff. It's just the plat with the layout of how the lots will be situated with the streets and the common tracks. And that's what comes in right now with an R1. And R1 only allows single family homes. So what we're recommending is allow that same kind of process review for an R2 district. And R2 districts allow single family homes and, let me put it back here, and also allows like the townhomes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it'd be like a similar, like a mirrored process.
Okay, that makes sense. Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. So the slide before.
This one?
One with the red piece, yes. So this is where I'm confused. So the R1 with this, it could mean a townhouse or a single family?
Correct. Just open for discussion. So one of the things we were asked to look at was zoning reform, and what zoning reform really deals with is how many and what kinds of housing types are allowed in each district. So we were just throwing out an example of where we could add, if you wanted to, some additional different types of housing types so that when people came in and zoned to R1, that would mean they could either have single family detached or a townhome and not only single family detached.
So what is the difference between a townhouse and a two-family duplex?
So a townhouse is when, and it's kind of it's an older conventional term. So a townhouse means that it's two homes on a lot, but it's separated. So the lot and the building you own separately. So you own like a little bit of your yard and you own actually also your building. Where a duplex is, you're going to be your own, you're separated still by the wall, but it's a single yard, single lot. And it used to be just a way people used to discern from different things back in.
So is the townhouse always only 2, no more than 2?
No more than 2, according to our code.
Okay. I don't know
'Cause
that
then
I
we go to-
love that being zone, like being able to be in R1. I don't necessarily mind the ones being added to RP1, but I don't know that I love that being in the R1.
Some other thoughts too are we could make some of these special use permits, or you could change a couple of these, but maybe we could bring back to you to show what other cities allow in their different districts so you could see what some of the differences are too.
I would like to see
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So then, I think we passed the R2. Did I get all your questions answered for the R2 district? Okay, great. It's a lot, I know. Let me see. So, okay, public hearing, and thank you to Hector for letting me have videos, or not videos, sorry, photos taken there. So the public hearings, right now we require 2 public hearings for every single preliminary development plan process that comes through for every rezoning. That is a public hearing at Planning Commission, and there is a public hearing at City Council. That is not required by state law, that is not required by state statute, and it is a little bit different from how some other cities in the metro and beyond operate. Typically, or more traditional, is 1 public hearing. And the concerns with having 2 public hearings is it does have a big time delay for developers, for home builders. It also can delay that construction because everything slows and while you're waiting for that second public hearing to occur. For smaller developments or smaller residential folks, it could discourage development or redevelopment because they often call us and ask us how long our process is. And believe it or not, it causes delays and some frustration for residents. Normally residents, about 90% of them are going to be coming to our public hearings at Planning Commission because that's the first public hearing. You know, they really want to be heard, they want their voices heard, they don't want to wait, you don't blame them at all, right? So they come to the Planning Commission meeting. That's why typically we'll have all those folks there, but then by the time the City Council comes, they don't come back a second time. It's already kind of intimidating coming up here, a lot of time has gone by, and then we do hear from them also of, well great, now they have to wait longer because they thought it was kind of already wrapping up. So there's lots of opportunity here. What our recommendation and thought was for, and this is also required, let me say too, not just for zonings, but revised preliminary development plans. So when we talked a little while ago and said, hey, when people come in and change their PDP, they're not changing their zoning, but they just want to change one small thing on their plan, they have to go through a 2 public hearing process also. That's a lot, and that could discourage some redevelopment activity. So what our recommendation and thought is, have the public hearing requirement still, but it's satisfied at Planning Commission. We still keep those public comments, you still gather all those, and we still keep that moves with the file. If the public does want to speak, actually, if we did do this and at City Council, the public comment portion of City Council actually comes prior to any staff presentations. So the public could still be here and make some comments if they wanted to. The real difference with not making it an official quote-unquote public hearing is there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that happens with higher costs for their application fees because then we have to also advertise. There's higher costs to the developers for sending out the notices twice. There's also the time delay where we could get people on City Council a week or 2 maybe early and advance our schedule up if we didn't have to wait for this time period for a public hearing to be advertised in the paper. And then again, it'd still be approved at City Council. There could still be presentations by staff, absolutely. It's just you don't have that published, noticed per state statute second public hearing that comes through the door. So that's how it saves just like about that week or 2 in time and also some of our costs.
So I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of this one.
Okay.
Just over 10 to 14 days, I feel like if they're throwing a stink about that,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a super big fan of this personally.
And we could certainly also come back and show you maybe at what governing body or at how many other cities across the metro have their public hearings too, if you'd like to see that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I just really have a clarification. So is what you're saying is that both a regular PDP and a revised PDP would move to just only having 1 public hearing?
That would be our recommendation, or we could do one or the other too. Maybe it's just revised PDPs only have to have the one public hearing.
I would be okay with splitting that. My concern would be that a regular PDP, you know, goes to planning, they hear everything there. A lot of times, they go back and make a ton of changes because of all of the opposition they got at planning. So when they do that, does that make them have to go back through planning again? Or do they get to come to us and say, this is what we did at planning, this is what we heard, these are the changes we made because of that, and here we are in front of you now?
It would work. It works the same way we would do right now, which right now, depending on the magnitude of the change, we either encourage them to have another neighborhood meeting even with the residents, or that we need to see that again, or we make that known to you all at the council meeting, and that would all stay the same. That would be the same.
Okay, like I said, I would be okay for the revised PDPs not having to go through two. I'm not so sure about just a regular.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, more information
More
could be
info.
great for that, yeah.
Okay.
I actually agree with her. I think that revised, I'm okay with that as well.
Okay, great. And that really wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. That was the gist of all of them, and then just wrapping back up kind of how we came up with these and the opportunity areas for them. But I have this, I'll keep the laundry list up right here for you, and I think I have it. If you want me to try to repeat back to you all, or if there's more questions first that you have.
You have any questions?
I don't think so. I think I was good on it. Yeah. Except for the things I spoke on, yeah.
So come back possibly with suggestions for like the modifications and those PDPs, also some research to show you about kind of like how our friends and neighbors do things and what their processes look like. So a little bit more detail on the savings there, and then also flesh out more and just more conversation with the zoning and the land uses, as well as then talking more about the public hearings and what that research looks like too.
Yeah, that
Kind
sounds
of.
great. Yeah.
Okay.
That was perfect.
I just have one more.
Yeah, go
sorry.
for it.
So on the chart where you gave us the little red peas, I think if you would just have more clarification on the difference between a townhome and a duplex, because I think 99% of people think that's the same thing. And if I understand what you're saying, a townhome is you own your half and your half of the lot, but a duplex, you may own your half of the property, but the lot is owned by whom?
But it's like, it's a joint lot. Yeah, or common. So we can definitely come back with examples and show you like the definitions and how our codes look and as well. And so we may even, when we come back, separate agendas for you so you can have a good conversation and not overwhelmed with so much all at one time too.
Go ahead.
And then maybe I personally would like to see just maybe what different cities are allowing in each zoning, including R1, but also just all of the zonings.
Do you want all residential categories or all residential and non-residential categories? I mean, 'cause that's-
Probably just residential. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to roundtable. Does anybody have anything? Nope. Any staff roundtable?
No.
Well, okay. Let's adjourn this meeting at 4:46.